What's going on Beyond Health? This is Dr. Justin Curnutt. I am the Director of Wellness Education and Integrative Health Strategies for Beyond Health International. I have a doctorate degree in pharmacy where I've practiced as a pharmacist for many years, many specialties, compounding pharmacy, nuclear pharmacy, as well as MTM pharmacy, all sorts of different facets of pharmacy. I stepped away from pharmacy for a time and opened up my own wellness center where I help people understand how not to need medicine, right? How to take a natural approach. So I became a practitioner of naturopathy, herbology, all sorts of just other things, right? Taking tons and tons of courses on nutrition and dietitian type stuff. However, today, each week I am privy to talk to lots of groups throughout my local community. And one of the communities I meet with on a regular basis challenged me to come up with a regimen according to science and research that would help with the aging process, with healthy aging. And I feel like I have created something that is very, very succinct and good according to science and research. Now, before we go into that, I just wanted to define aging. Now, again, what is healthy aging, right? Now, it helps to start with a good understanding of what aging is. That's according to my notes here, right? So, according to a recent review, aging can be characterized by a progressive loss of physiological integrity, leading to impaired function and increased vulnerability to death. That is a definition. Excuse me. And while that sounds ominous, it doesn't sound very encouraging. So again, aging can be characterized by a progressive loss of physiological integrity, leading to impaired function and increased vulnerability to death. Now, they're not even defining aging anymore by age, by actual. So when I say healthy aging, I don't mean this video is made for a 65 to 75-year-old person, right? I'm saying aging healthy is absolutely imperative because aging now is defined as this progressive loss of physiological integrity as we age, right? Leading to impaired functioning, which I'll talk about further, and ultimately leading to that. So although this sounds dismal, okay, scientists are not ones to sugarcoat. That's why that definition is so to the point. And there are actually some things here to be encouraged by. So we understand the aging process and mechanisms behind it now more than ever, and that's why it's so great to be living in this day and age. So the first thing I wanted to kind of go over is lifespan versus health span. Now, the average human lifespan has increased quite a bit in the past 100 years. That is an absolute fact. But the extra time spent on this earth isn't always in good health. I know we've all got personal experience of this. I had a 96-year-old great-grandfather that lived with me when I was a teen in the last few years before he ended up going to hospice. And I would say the last probably, 8 to 10 years were not the most healthy, right? And now he died at 96, so that's a very good life, very longevity runs in my genes. But the longer humans live, the more prevalent late onset diseases such as diabetes, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's people are prone to get. So adding 40 years of life isn't so great if the latter 40 are spent battling a devastating disease like diabetes, Parkinson's, or Alzheimer's, right? So this brings up an important concept which we in the healthcare community call lifespan versus health span. So while lifespan, as you might expect, is the length of one's life, okay, health span is more concerned with quality of life, or the time period during life where you are in a healthy and high-functioning state. So, for example, okay, the current average lifespan in the United States is 79 years. While the average health span is only 67.4 years. So that's basically 12 years worth of unhealthy, not particular quality of life driven years, okay? Now, science has made good progress in the past 25 years, increasing our understanding of the genetic and different biological factors that control lifespan, but much of this is still up in the air. So again, there's different tests you can look at, like a telomere test, okay, where you can look at. So I might be, and I'll tell you, I'm 38 years old, okay, but my internal age may be 65-year-olds, right? So I look like I'm 35 or 38, but I may be a 65 or 68-year-old internal being. And the reason they can see this is by different tests, internal, like blood work and things like that. So by looking at something like a telomere. Okay, now the telomere is on your DNA strand. It's the caps that hold them together. It's basically like a shoelace, like the caps on your shoelace strings. Okay, and basically as those shorten, basically tells a biological age. Okay, I'm sorry. A biological age would be, I'm 35. More of an internal age, I guess, if that makes sense. So there's, again, many factors associated with. I've got a graph here. I could always throw it out there if needed. But there's different altered intracellular communication as a hallmark of aging. Genomic instability as a hallmark of aging. Telomere attrition, meaning the degradation or the shortening of telomeres. The epigenetic alterations, loss of proteostasis, deregulated nutrient sensing, mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular senescence, stem cell exhaustion. Those are all hallmarks of aging according to different science and research. And so depending on which doctor you go to is going to highlight some of those different factors. So now that's lifespan versus health span. So strategies for healthy aging. I kind of wanted to break this down, at least at the beginning, with some natural strategies that you can do, okay? So strategies for healthy aging. First thing I've got here is to get moving, okay? Get moving. So present day humans tend to move too little and eat too much. And this is a potent negative combination. We simply, as human beings, are not designed to be sedentary, nor were we likely designed for the level of excess in the typical Western diet. Granted, and there are caveats, some of this is out of our control. Many of us have desk jobs during the day and then family responsibilities at night. That being said, we need to find a way. Park the car in the back of the parking lot if necessary. I give a lot of holistic strategies to people that I consult and counsel, and I tell them, why drive? Plus, this saves gas. So why drive around the parking lot for 10 minutes trying to find a parking space when you could just park in the back, just roll right in, turn off the car, and then walk all the way up, right? That'll give you a few extra 100 steps a day. Like, that's really, really good. So take the stairs instead of the elevator. Get in a quick 30-minute workout before work. The small investment in time now could pay big dividends down the road and put you on a trajectory to being fit and high functioning well into your later years. So again, the time you put in now will really pay off in value the time later. So people who stick to solid fitness programs tend to look younger at any age. That should be a big telltale motivation for you, right? Is that right? Who doesn't want to look younger, right? The evidence is not just anecdotal. Exercise has been shown, according to science research, to lessen many of the hallmarks of aging. And it does this by affecting multiple body systems in a positive way. So my first recommendation is to just get moving, okay? So just get moving. The second thing that I'm going to talk about is to train hard but smart, okay? Now, as you transition from your 30s to 40s, some things will change, okay? I'm recognizing and realizing all this. First, certain hormones start to trend downwards, okay? For men, things like testosterone and androsterone and different other manly hormones tend to start decreasing after the age of 30, okay? And now this can increase the time needed for full recovery after an intense training session. Also, many years of hard training can increase the efficiency with which your nervous system recruits motor units during heavy lifts. So, in other words, your ability to do damage to a muscle during a training session could edge out your ability to recover from the session in a timely fashion. So again, everything I talk about tends to be risk versus benefit. So is overworking worth the risk of not recovering too fast, or is lessening the amount of exercise or hard training you're doing is the benefit that you're not having to recover because you can't recover as fast as you did in your 20s, okay? Now, recovery time, if you're not recovering well enough and giving your body the amount of time it needs, then it can lead you to more injury, and you're more susceptible to other injuries, especially when you're accustomed to the certain exercise. So, for example, I've got a friend who does CrossFit. He does what's called HIIT training, high intensity interval training. He was in his say mid to late 30s. Had been doing this since his 20s, and it was running in one of his marathons, and had this like twinge in his leg. Now he said it was in between a cramp and a spasm, but basically what ended up happening as he got about halfway up a hill in this marathon is he heard and felt an incredibly loud pop. Okay. And in that calf muscle where he felt that twinge, and tons of pain, loss of strength immediately. He was crying, and this one of the most manly men that I know, right? Basically, had a partial tear in one of his muscles, and he just thought, I'm in good shape. How could this happen to me, right? Turns out that it's super common in 30-year-old athletes. He told me. He says you act like you're in your 20s, you feel like you're in your 20s, and you fail to recognize that you need to adjust different things you do in order to lessen strain and wear and tear, and you don't realize this until you actually have an injury. And so now again, hindsight's 2020. It's still important to learn from mistakes, though. Even better, learn from the mistakes of others. So hopefully you guys can learn from this gentleman. Again, you're not, even though you feel great, you're not as young as you once were. So my suggestion, according to science and research, is to warm up habitually and warm up more than you think you need to. Okay, you may just have done a few little stretches in your 20s. In your 30s, you may need to do more stretching. In your 40s, you may need to do, right? I know people that do like an hour worth of stretching, right? That's crazy to think, but very, very smart. Introduce new exercises with caution, of course, personal trainer and things like that. But introduce new exercises, things that aren't wearing on those same joints or muscles. And listen to your body. If it feels off, it probably is. Don't be afraid to make adjustments. It's kind of my things. The next thing you could do is mobility. So most people, especially those of us who need to sit for a significant portion of our workday, will suffer from a progressive loss of mobility with age. So muscles and joints become tighter, and our range of motion is lost. Our flexibility is also lost, which partly explains the increased incidence of lower back pain with aging. So in the past, the only time mobility and stretching came into the picture, for me at least, was after I was forced to deal with certain injuries of my own. Okay, and that again, 20s to 30 transition. Also with my one of my best friends, the best friend that tore his muscle, that loud pop story. There's setbacks, and he even has some additional lower back pain and different things. His joints are tighter. My joints are tighter. His range of motion is lost. My range of motion is lost, which again partially explains that back pain. Of course, once injured, the stretching and the mobility work to restore function, basically, like, think of PT, physical therapy, right? That's what they're doing after surgery or after some kind of surgery or tear or something. They're working on mobility and stretching, right? And most people do it backwards, where they just strength train, but they don't mobility. And so mobility is absolutely crucial. So expect mobility issues to come up with increased aging, okay? And be proactive about addressing them. So to avoid trial, error, injuries, and lost time, seek a qualified fitness or medical professional to address mobility issues before they lead to injury or loss of function. Again, a physical therapist, a sports therapist, an exercise trainer, things like that, okay? Now, I got two more things here. still on the natural things you can do, sleep and recovery. So most of us are not getting as much sleep as we need. This is self-evident, more or less. We all recognize the brain fog, irritability, and fatigue that come with several days' worth of inadequate sleep. The most insidious fallout is that sleep deprivation may even accelerate aging at the cellular level. The solution is to get as much rest as you need. Not everybody needs 8 hours of sleep, though, so just know that. Some can get by with less, but some of us need even more. Of course, this isn't always an option when you are pushing hard with your job and young children, or both. Okay, in my situation, sleep becomes a precious commodity. Solution is to get as much sleep as you need, as consistently as you need. So now, in talking about aging, so the average person, 26, I've got another chart for this, chart all according to science and research. Ages 26 to 64 need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Okay, that's recommended. May be appropriate to get 6 to 10, so basically 1 hour on each side of that. You could get 6, right? 7 to 9 is recommended. 6 to 10 is maybe appropriate, but it's not recommended to go outside of that range. Okay, if you're 65 and older, 7 to 8 is the recommended, and 5 to 9 may be appropriate, so it goes a little bit less on that 5 end, all the way up to 9, but don't go outside of those bounds. Don't go less than 5 or more than 9. Alzheimer's is, according to science and research, being predicted about 20 years ahead of time based on sleep cycles, sleep patterns. If your sleep starts waning, if you're getting 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep, and you can't get more than that for some weird reason, for 20 years, 10 to 20 years, I would say, if you're getting very poor sleep, you'll typically trend very highly towards dementia and Alzheimer's. Again, the sleep is very reparative, is very cleansing for the body, for detoxing the brain and things like that. So if you're not getting adequate sleep, your brain is accumulating just tons of those toxins and things like that. So that's sleep. Now, last thing I've got here is to eat a healthy diet and maintain a healthy weight. So poor nutrition, excess calorie intake, and the resulting weight gain and possibly obesity are at odds with the long lifespan and health span. So most know this, but recognizing you are overweight is far easier than sustainably addressing it. So most people recognize they're overweight, but actually addressing it is another issue. Nobody gets out of shape on purpose. It creeps up on us. Even if you could eat whatever you wanted in your 20s and still look like a superhero, odds are it'll be harder to pull that same thing off in your 30s, and unlikely to impossible in your 40s and later. And this is how most of us trend toward negative changes in body composition over the years. But this doesn't have to be the case. Pay attention to changes in your body and how it responds to training, diet, and supplementation over time, and adjust accordingly. So, you guys, these are my strategies for healthy aging. You guys, my natural strategies for healthy aging. So again, I've got my top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in order for healthy aging, my top 5 recommendations are, according to science and research, not according to me, are number 1, to get moving. Number 2, to train hard but smart. Number 3, mobility. Number 4, sleep and recovery. And number 5, eat a healthy diet and maintain a healthy weight. You guys, in this long form video, I will break it up into 3 or more sections because I don't want this to be overwhelming and overbearing. So with that in mind, you guys, these are my top 5 strategies for healthy aging, my top 5 natural strategies that don't take any money, don't take any extra resources. There's nothing that Beyond Health sells to actually give you these things. And I do that because I want you to live the best and to live the healthiest and to live the highest life that you can live. And with that, I will catch you in the next long form video. Thanks, guys.